So good morning, bonjour, So after the screening, how do you feel today? Good? Ready for our panel discussion with our distinguished guests. And then as you all know that last week, what happened in Brussels? Yeah? So for those gentlemen, it's a great... Welcome, President. Again, yeah. But next time, really, I hope with all our work all together, that one day we will receive again another senior Taiwanese government here in France. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Okay. So this is why we are working so hard by everyone, and also from the work of the ambassadors of Taiwan, together with the parliaments, deputies of the European parliaments, and especially here today we are in France, and also together with the IPAC. So today, let me introduce briefly our guest. So should I start from the most senior or the youngest? So we will have our former French senators, Olivier Gattolin, who has been involved in the Taiwanese topics for years, and also a specialist in the disinformation, that he personally faced a lot of also attacks, from China and from everywhere. So today, for anyone who wants to have a deeper exchange, feel free to do so. And we have our distinguished and beloved ambassador to EU lately, but he has been a long-dated human rights and also diplomat, politicians for Taiwan overseas, and previously he was the ambassador to Germany for 9 years. Yes. And our French senators and French co-chair of IPAC for France, Olivier Cadic, and who is a specialist, also representatives for the foreign French overseas, and also the president in the committees of foreign affairs and defense in the Senate. Vice President. Who has been to many times in Taiwan, and then I just learned sometimes I don't follow all the political events. He was in Penghu in 2023. Yeah, maybe some of you haven't been there yet. Yeah, so really thankful for all those great works that Parliament to co-work together to promote Taiwan and defend Taiwan's national security and sovereignties overseas. And then, at least, the rising, I will say, stars among the Taiwan media, the founder of IPAC, Luc Dupuy. Thank you for being among us. Who has been aligning or being a partner, a friend, a good allies of Taiwan for years. And not only so, you have been participated in the support to Weiwu, to the Hong Kong for many years from the beginning, and you are also the president of the association of RISE, right? Yeah, I used to be, but once a president forever, that you cannot get away from the topics that you are devoted to fighting for the human rights. So for anyone who is not familiar yet with IPAC, we have a CC here who have also a booklet that you can get in touch with her to get to know more about IPAC. As a good friend of Taiwan, I think it deserves our attention and more support to collaborate and to work together. So for today, after the screening of Invisible Nation that some of you have already seen, or some of you have seen it for the first time. So it's set a ground for us to understand the situations of Taiwan today, why it is so hard as a nation that we cannot even name ourselves, call our names in public, why in the international events that we have to be called Chinese Taipei, which we don't recognize ourselves. When somebody called me, that I don't respond to this name. So this is a fact. And then today the panel discussion is beyond UN 2758, Taiwan from an international perspective, because we want to move forward. This is a fact that we have a strong and evil neighbor, across the strait. And what can we do? How can we transform the UN Resolution 2758 into the concrete actions that we can take all together? So I will let maybe each of our speakers to speak freely on your positions, and then we will exchange in the discussions. So should we start from Ambassador Xie?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a great honor for me to be invited here. Excuse me, I have been speaking German for uninterrupted years. When I speak English with German, sounds like German, it's because of the accent, not the accident.
Okay, the joke starts. Okay.
China has been misinterpreting, misusing this so-called UN General Assembly Resolution 2758, and we have been trying to tell the world, if China is trying to misinterpret it, to use it as a proof of their claim that Taiwan is a part of the People's Republic of China, the first answer we would give them is the concept of Taiwan is not even mentioned in this resolution. So, as a matter of fact, it is important, first of all, for people, especially from Taiwan, but not only from Taiwan, it's important for the friends, all the friends who support Taiwan, trying to fight back, to push back this kind of misinterpretation. We have to know what is exactly written, the genuine text of this resolution 2758, just to make sure that the concept Taiwan is not even mentioned in this resolution. I'll try to quote it word by word, so that you can be sure if you haven't read exactly what is written in this resolution. So it goes like this. The General Assembly, recalling the principles of the Charter of the United Nations, considering that the restoration of the lawful rights of the People's Republic of China is essential both for the protection of the Charter of the United Nations and for the cause that the United Nations must serve under the Charter. Third, considering that the representatives of the government of the People's Republic of China are the only lawful representatives of China to the United Nations, and that the People's Republic of China is one of 5 permanent members of the Security Council. So you have to recalling, you have to considering, you have to recognizing, and now decides. That means the General Assembly decides to restore all its rights to the People's Republic of China and to recognize the representative of its government to the United Nations as the only legitimate representative of China to the United Nations. And now comes the third sentence, and to expel forthwith the representatives of Chiang Kai-shek, which occupy the place unlawfully, and they are to be expelled from all the place which they occupy unlawfully in the United Nations, and at the United Nations and in all the organizations related to it. That was a quote, word by word. Please raise your hand if anybody of you have heard the concept Taiwan. Have you? No. Taiwan is not even mentioned. Secondly, I just want to make the key point of this resolution. It is a resolution passed by the General Assembly of the UN on the 25th of October 1971. It was passed to solve the problem of the question which China at that time, the People's Republic of China, mainland China, and Republic of China and Taiwan, which China should have the right to represent China in the UN. Nothing more than that. That means with this resolution, it solves only the question of representation of China in the UN and not the sovereignty of Taiwan in the world. And that is important as the discuss of our next discussions. I will stop here, and I just want to say thank you very much. I'm the last, not the last one, I'm the only one who has been sent abroad, acting as ambassador for Taiwan in Europe, in Germany, and in Brussels, by Chen Shui-bian 2005, by Tsai Ing-wen 2016 to 2024, and now by the President Lai. Quite an exception, and we promised. Now we have brought Vice President Xiao Meiqi to Europe, and I promised them, with the cooperation with Luke, and I say, since Luke is there, let's take a look. If we are going to make the next job, next text successful, and I say it because as diplomat, you are not allowed to say everything you want to say in your heart.
You can tell me, I can say it.
Okay, I just told the people in Brussels who were so happy that Vice President Xiao Meiqi was here, and they said, Professor Xie, what's the next step? I said, I promise to bring AI to Europe, and you know our President Lai. The name is LAI. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Xie. Let's look for that. So when you bring AI to EU, be sure that we will be there to support all your hard works.
And I hope we do there too.
Yes, yeah. So that will be in a very short term, yeah. So it's a very exceptional experience of you to be appointed by President Chen Shui-bian and President Tsai Ing-wen, and now to the President Lai. So I hope that we have seen Taiwan through it's a long.
Do you know the reason why they've been always sending them outside to Europe?
I think they will prefer you in Europe than in Taiwan. They have murmured also to me, but I think they are right. They have done the right decision. We need you to be here where you can perform and then has the most impact for Taiwan. I think you have your place here, that we appreciate your hard work in Germany, and we are looking forward to your job that we are going to concretize together for the EU. Yeah. So next, I would like to invite Luke, because it's important for this topic that we start from the resolutions, UN Resolution 2758, that's a hard work of IPAC for the past few years, and I would like to also probably summarize what the achievement we have done over the past few years, and then on your positions to this panel topic.
Okay, thank you, Sandy, and hello everybody. Hi. I think I should acknowledge the people who are on this panel, all very remarkable people. You know, André Gattolin, when he was a senator, is the reason that there is IPAC in France. And if it were not for André, there would be no IPAC in France. I should also say about our ambassador here, do not judge him by his terrible jokes. Because, I hope it's okay for me to say, the visit of VP Shao to Brussels very recently probably could not have happened without him. He pushed for it extremely hard. And very importantly, I don't know if you realize, but Senator Cadic has achieved what I think is the most significant law change for Taiwan in any democratic legislature, the amendment to the Military Programming Act, which requires France to maintain open maritime navigation through the Taiwan Strait. That's extremely significant and much more significant. Okay, so 2758. Most politicians in most countries have not heard of this thing. It's very niche. It's the kind of thing that most lawmakers would not take an interest in. And I have a phrase when I'm talking about China, and particularly when I'm talking to lawmakers or campaigners about China. I say, when it is about territory, we will lose. And in any campaign that has been about territory on China, we have lost. If you look at the Tibetan cause, it's been extremely difficult because in most people's minds, it is a complicated territorial dispute. There was a risk of that being the same issue with the persecution of Uyghurs and other minorities in the northwest of China. Had that been a campaign about territory, we would have lost. And the difficulty with Taiwan is that it is inescapably about sovereignty and territory. And that makes life really difficult. So normally, I wouldn't even try on an issue like this. But when we met in Taipei in July, August 2024, we had an IPAC summit. All of the politicians from the network were represented there. It's quite a large number, about 55, I think, from about 30 countries. And those lawmakers came together and they agreed a model resolution on United Nations General Assembly Resolution 2758. And that model resolution said, this resolution does not mention Taiwan. It does not rule on sovereignty, and it is being misused by Beijing in order to try to distort perceptions of that document so that it looks as if they have a legal argument to claim sovereignty over Taiwan. Now, this is obviously completely false, but I don't want to get into the philosophy of law here. But when it comes to international law, documents in international law really only have the meaning given to them by the international community. And if Beijing can go around from country to country to country, and it can get them to accept that this resolution 2758 says things that it does not say, I would argue it doesn't actually matter what the document says. So pushing back is very important. We have to try to reassert the equilibrium. And the way that we did that in IPAC was that this model resolution was then taken back to the parliaments of many of the lawmakers who came, and they passed it in their own legislatures. That model resolution is now passed in 9 legislatures around the world. And what it does is it represents something more than just a statement of parliamentary will. Okay? Just let me back up. A lot of the time, when lawmakers who are not in the government try to push something in a parliament, it has limited traction. You know, motions sometimes don't mean very much. But this motion, in many countries, had to be negotiated with the governing party and with the government. So in Australia, for example, Penny Wong happens to be the foreign minister, but she's also the leader of the Senate. She had to agree the text in order for it to pass, and it passed unanimously. So it does not just serve as a statement of parliamentary will. It serves as a restatement of government policy in Australia. The same thing happened in Canada. A similar thing happened in Sweden. A very similar thing happened in the UK, where we got the Minister for Asia to come, and she gave a very strong speech and asserted government policy in opposition to Beijing's distortion of 2758. So that, in a nutshell, is what we have sought to do on this cause. But the title of this is Beyond 2758. This is very ambitious, beyond 2758, because we still have big problems, yeah? Many countries of the world are saying that this document says things that it does not say. And Taiwan itself is such a, I'm going to say, lightning rod for Beijing, that anything which touches this question causes major pushback. I'll give you an example. We have now lost 3 countries from IPAC because of this. Malawi, the Gambia, and the Solomon Islands. In Malawi, the PRC threatened the government and said, if you do not get your politicians out of this IPAC network, we will cancel the presidential visit from Malawi to China. They did something similar in the Gambia. In the Solomon Islands, it was even worse, because in the Solomon Islands, we have 2 co-chairs, like many places, or we had 2 co-chairs. One of them is a man called Peter Kenneloria Jr., Member of Parliament, who is extraordinarily brave. He is now the only one in the Solomon Islands speaking up for Taiwan. Our other member was leading a small political party. There was a crisis of confidence, and his party decided to join the government party. Beijing got in touch with the Solomon Island government, and they said, we have 2 conditions for engaging with your government. Number 1, they get out of IPAC. Number 2, we want a statement in support of the One China principle. And they got both. So we lost that member. We lost 3 countries because of this. So that gives you an indication. This is something that Beijing feels they cannot tolerate. They will bring the whole apparatus of the state to bear to try to force people to stop talking about this. Before our Taipei summit, somehow Beijing got hold of our delegates list. They pressured politicians in 11 countries not to go to Taipei. This time round, they did it in Kenya. Our Kenyans did not come. They did it in other countries of Africa. We still don't really know what happened. But it gives you an indication. Those of us who are trying to stand up for Taiwan outside of Taiwan find ourselves under very serious pressure from Beijing, and we need your support. I have more things to say, but why don't I stop there for the moment?
Thank you, Luke. I think for what IPAC has been through now, the pressure from China, the Taiwanese people has lived this for, I don't know how many years. I think since I was born, we know that. So we are grateful also for the support of IPAC, like what you said, as I would say an NGO or civil organization. We are non-governmental, like the EFTA. None of us are paid by the government, neither of IPAC. There is no way that the Taiwanese government will have this 80 million of euros, yes, to finance.
It would be nice.
Yes. And so there are a lot of disinformations going on at the moment to, I would say, to set us backwards on what we consider right to do. So thank you again, IPAC, as a civil organization to achieve a great work that a government should do, and also the Taiwanese government, that we should have a stronger support, that we can move forward, because we are fighting for the same values that we share among the democratic countries. Yeah. So looking forward to cooperate more. Yeah.
Excuse me. We just had a small talk. The IPAC is not to compare with the name. Sorry. Sorry for this correction.
No problem.
Because IPAC is not in any way perspective to be compared is IGO. IGO is a non-governmental organization, and IPAC is the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China. The members of them are parliamentary in the countries or in the European Parliament. So it's not to be compared.
It's not the same level, but they are not financed by any government. And I think that's also important. I agree with you. I think we need to probably express a bit more on what is IPAC.
Marco Rubio, for example. Marco Rubio. Yeah.
American.
Is the state secretary. He was a member of IPAC before he became the Minister of Foreign Affairs, for example. Yeah, so IPAC is much higher. Yeah. Who formed it?
Yes, I would like to say something about what Luc said a few minutes ago, because the comparison between what Beijing is doing in front of IPAC is the same thing they are doing against Taiwan representation. I'm in touch with many specialists of China who still travel and who have a high-level discussion in China with some middle-rank authority. And they do the parallels on IPAC and how to pressure countries not to belong or not to have parliamentarian belonging to that, and the pressure they put on countries who had recognized in the past Taiwan as the parallel, and they do that directly at a high level in the Chinese authority. So it's interesting because we are close together, IPAC and Taiwan, for years, but we live the same, I would say, influence, authoritarian influence from China.
The floors to Senator Gattolin to say a few words on this beyond UN 2758, because I think France has a lot to say, and France has expressed this support through the concrete actions.
Thank you. If I'm in IPAC, it's due to André. So he attracted me to IPAC early 21. And 3 years later, I learned that thanks to him, APT 31, Chinese Secret Service, tried to enter my mailbox. So that was my gift. So it was an interesting beginning. And when I had to come to Taiwan the first time as a senator, because in the past, in my previous life in electronic, I was working with Taiwanese companies, and I visited Taiwan before. What I want to say is the first time we announced that we would visit as senators Taiwan, the Chinese ambassador, the Beijing regime in Paris said we had to not, it was not possible for us to go, we had not to go, and if we did, we would have consequences. In fact, at the same time, they decided that 10 members of European Parliament would not have the right to go anymore to China, to Macau, and to Hong Kong. They did not mention Taiwan. So, as I said in the Senate at that time, this is a proof that officially the Chinese Minister of Foreign Affairs recognized Taiwan was not belonging to China. This is a proof, this is a reality, and we are free to go to Taiwan as Taiwanese people are free to invite who they want. So now when we went for the first time, people asked me, why are you coming? Why are you coming? And it was COVID time. We were the first delegation of foreigners during COVID time to visiting Taiwan, Taipei. It was in October 21 with Alain Richard at that time, who was the president of the Friendship Committee. And I said, I'm in Taiwan to say to Taiwanese people, you are not alone. We are fighting for the same values. The question is, in what world do we want to live in? Do we want to live like Tibetans in Tibet? Like Uyghur in Xinjiang? Like the friends of Jimmy Lai and the Umbrella's generation in Hong Kong? Do we want to live in a world of oppression or in a world of freedom of expression? We gave an answer in France in two ways. First, we wanted to say, and thank you, Luc, to mention it, through our military program act, that the freedom of maritime circulation in Taiwan Strait is part of the freedom of circulation for all the world. Yes. And France. France has to work to guarantee this freedom of circulation. It's now in our law. Number two, you can read it in our strategic review, national review, published this year. And it mentioned Taiwan Strait and the importance for the global peace. So we show that this issue is at the top priority for France. And you know, and thank you, Luc, to mention that what France did, we were the unique country who did it. And that was the reason why I went to Penghu to make a speech there to say to the people of this island that they are very important to us. So now is the future. We'll talk about it. We see the threats from any kind, threats on this democracy made by Beijing regime. And I want to tell them, the best defense is surprise. So it could be a bad surprise for them. They try to change that. And we have to work to make, in that case, we will have a good surprise that people will raise it to fight for democracy, for freedom of expression. And this is what Taiwan represents to the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Like you said, I think we are here also because we are ready to fight for freedom, fight for democracy. We have seen our former President Tsai Ing-wen in Berlin, also late in a few days ago in the first Berlin Freedom Conference. And the speech that she gave also shows that Taiwan will stand strong and we will not be afraid to step away from what we have been devoting for the past few years. Taiwan has come from a totalitarian regime to democratic government, I would say peacefully, without two revolutions of people sacrificing their lives in massive ways. And I believe that with the support of the democratic countries that we are here in Europe, we will move to the next AI step. Yeah. And last, I would like to invite Senator Gattolin to express on this topic. What's your point of view on this beyond UN 2758?
Mm-hmm. Yes, many things have been said, but I would like to add something to my friend Olivier Cadic. He said France is the first country having done that, but this is not the president, this is not the government. Remember, when President Macron traveled to China on April 2023, he made this incredible declaration to a journalist, Politico, I think it was a paper, on the return. And it was totally incredible about the status quo in Taiwan Strait, and the fact also that the president was telling that we don't have to be under the pressure of the United States to take position. What a change. And if I remember well, it was on July 2023, we passed this amendment at the Senate, and after that at the National Assembly. What has changed is that the mobilization of parliamentarians was incredible. I've been part of the presidential political party, and when Macron had this declaration, I attacked him in the media. So people were very astonished. I didn't care, I didn't want it to make another term, I didn't want it to become a minister or a sub-minister or something in the power. But another colleagues, also belonging to the IPAC, made the same critics, and belonging also to the majority, the presidential party. And what we have done for months and months is to enlarge the group, not friendship group, I will explain, but the group on study on Taiwan at the French Senate. Now there is 61 members, over 348 persons. And this is one of the most and one of the largest friendship or bilateral group. And with this help, and I remember when you send your amendment, I said, okay, I will have the back of my group, but I will not take official position, because as I'm close to the president, people will say this is a manipulation. And we organized very well, and at the last time we obtained, I think, a full, everybody voted for that in the Foreign Affairs Committee. And this is very important to say that parliamentarians, even in France, where they are not very considered by the presidential regime, can change the thing and put the pressure on the president. And when he talked, it was last May, I think in Singapore, about that, it totally changed his view. And he received protests from Beijing about what he said. And this is not what he wanted to do. It's what the government wanted. But we put the pressure, we press, and we obtained that for France and for Taiwan.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Gattolin, for saying that.
Yeah, Andre, as I told you, you attracted me to IPAC, and since that, my life changed totally.
Now you cannot go to China, but to Taiwan.
What I can share with you. So I don't, even it's close. Yeah, the small story in the story. Because we put, and André was right, we put some pressure because we thought it was important. And you know, when we started with André in the friendship group, we had roughly 20 members. So in the friendship group, so we tripled the number in just during that time. It was a real work based on of conviction, and André was a real leader on this. I want to tell you what you couldn't see you can't read in a debate. So when we discussed the amendments in the parliament, so we got a support. It was a consensus about it. But the question was what the government will do. This was the question. And the minister for the army, the name is Sébastien Lecornu, who is now prime minister. And I received a phone call 2 days before the debate. And the phone call was, okay, we support you. And what you can see in the debate, so when you have the amendment, you have what the committee is saying. The committee said, we approve the amendment. What's government position? You can't listen any word. Because what did he do? Okay, that was the sign of the Minister of Army. And then many people were thinking, okay, it's voted in Senate, but what will happen later? In fact, because the text was different compared to the National Assembly, so we had what we call Commission Mixte Paritaire. So it means some member of Senate, some members of National Assembly together, and they look at the differences and they say, okay, we approve or not, and then if we disagree, then it goes back to the National Assembly. But in fact, they said, okay, to everything. So finally, what the Senate proposed was approved automatically by National Assembly. So then, the question for Ambassador Wu, former Ambassador Wu, so François Wu, who is a minister in Taiwan now for the foreign affairs, and he called me and said, something is incredible there. So what are you doing? He told me that the president will. Can the president accept this? And I said, I did not imagine that the Minister of Army says this and the president disagreed. So for him, it was so amazing that he was waiting. It was published, signed by the president. I told him, no, don't worry. But he was thinking something will happen. And no, so you have all the behind the story, behind the curtain. It shows, and André is right, we were shocked by the declaration of the that we can imagine he had a state visit. You can imagine how Beijing can receive people. And he has some people around him who are advisors. Maybe they talk about business, but we talk about value. And here, maybe, and we understood. They changed very quickly after the speech. And it was, I think, we have speech and we have act. So this act, we can say, is on the plus of the French president.
So, I think we really need to give a big hand to the work that the senators and all the French deputies has done, because through those years, like you say, now it's not only tripled for the members of the Groupe de Travail France Taiwan, and also it I think from last year or 2 years ago, the first time that we are outnumbered for the group France-China. Now people are coming to our group to support Taiwan, that the senators, the legislators want to sign up to be closer, to get to know Taiwan more than getting to know China. So I think that's also something we will look forward to, again, outnumbered in several years' time.
Yes, I wanted to add something because as we present the dark back doors of the political kitchen, after my public declaration against the president, his main advisor on China called me. He was very annoyed by my declaration. He said that the journalist was stupid. I say, I know the journalist is not stupid. After that, he said, but the problem is that we talk about freedom of circulation in the Taiwan Strait, but nobody among the journalists asks us the question. And I have documents to show that. I say, send me the document. You have 2 days for that. 3 weeks after, I got no documents. I say, okay, I send a message to President Macron. I say, don't play with that. Or you assume what you've done, and politically you can assume you're the president, but I don't want this liar to call me at home and to say I'm a bad guy.
So I think Senator Cadic has obligations to leave us before 1 o'clock, right? So now is almost 20 past 12. Before I raise some questions to you, maybe I want to know that in the public, do you have any questions for our distinguished guests?